It's not every day you see this kind of public clash in the entertainment world.
No, definitely not.
Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour, it just kicked off Monday, April 28th.
Right, that's the one. And almost immediately, there's this buzz.
Yeah, about a specific video interlude. It's visually striking. Shows Beyonce kind of playfully picking up the Las Vegas sphere.
And that specific visual, that's the trigger. It seems Sphere Entertainment CEO James Dolan wasn't too happy about it.
Not at all. He's actually issued a cease and desist letter to Parkwood Entertainment, Beyonce's company.
Demanding they pull that video, stop using it.
Exactly. And that's really what we want to dig into today in this deep dive.
Yeah, figure out why the cease and desist, what it tells us about, IP rights, venue image.
And maybe even what it hints at for the future, potential plans perhaps.
Could be. And we're basing this on reporting from the New York Post, which Consequence.net picked up around May 2nd.
Okay, so let's start with Sphere Entertainment Group's side of things, SEG.
Right. So the letter, written by James Dolan's attorney, Kathleen McCarthy,
Okay.
it basically alleges impermissible use and violation of SEG's intellectual property. Strong words.
Impermissible use. So, their main point is that the video's prominent appearance and manipulation of the sphere wasn't authorized.
Precisely. It's not just background scenery. She's interacting with it, manipulating the image of their venue.
It seems quite specific. You wouldn't necessarily think a visual like that automatically triggers legal action.
Well, the letter describes it quite vividly. It says, Beyonce, many orders of magnitude larger than the sphere venue, leans over, picks up the venue, and looms over it.
Wow, okay, paints a picture.
It does, and SEG makes a point of stating they were never asked for permission.
So the core issue is the unauthorized use of their very distinct, very valuable visual identity.
Exactly. And maybe they feel it implies some kind of endorsement or connection that doesn't exist.
And that ties into another concern they mentioned, right? The speculation.
Yes, they're worried this video has caused significant speculation that Beyonce will end her tour with a Sphere residency.
Ah, okay. So they think this visual might be fueling rumors about a collaboration that isn't actually happening, or at least isn't confirmed.
That seems to be a major part of it. They don't want the public thinking a deal is done based on this tour visual.
Makes sense from their perspective.
Yeah.
And they've given a deadline.
They have. Beyonce's team needs to stop using the imagery by Monday, May 5th. That was yesterday, actually, as we record this.
Oh, right. So we might already know if they complied or not soon. And if they don't.
The letter says EGG will take further action as SEG deems appropriate without notice.
So they're serious. They're not messing around.
Doesn't sound like it.
But, like you hinted, this residency thing, it has some history, doesn't it? This isn't totally out of the blue.
No, there's important context here. There were reports, quite persistent ones actually, about negotiations between Beyonce and the Sphere for a residency before the tour.
Right, I remember hearing about that. But those talks apparently stalled.
Reportedly, yes. The sticking point was supposedly Beyonce's request for the venue to go dark for 2 weeks.
2 weeks for rehearsals.
That was the report. And you can imagine, for a venue like the Sphere.
That's a huge amount of downtime, lost revenue, scheduling, chaos.
Exactly, a major ask. So those talks apparently fell apart over that.
And wasn't there also talk about her team discussing things with MGM Arrival?
Yes, that was part of the buzz too. Reports mentioned discussions about a potential, 100-show residency with MGM Resorts.
Okay, so if you're SEG and talks broke down, and you know she might be talking to your competitor,
then seeing this video pop up in her massive world tour.
A video prominently featuring your venue, potentially fueling residency rumors you don't want.
You can see why they might react strongly. It adds a whole other layer to their sensitivity about the unauthorized use.
It really does. It makes their reaction seem less about just the image itself and more about the implications in the history.
Potentially, yeah. It could be seen as, leveraging their brand recognition without a deal in place, maybe even while exploring options elsewhere.
Let's pivot slightly back to the tour itself, though. The Cowboy Carter tour. It's obviously a massive undertaking.
Huge. It kicked off in LA, SoFi Stadium, with 5 shows.
5 nights, that's a big start.
And the tour is hitting other major North American cities, too. Chicago, Atlanta, Houston.
And Las Vegas is on that list as well, interestingly enough.
Right, which just adds another dimension to this whole Sphere interaction.
And it's going international, too, right? Europe in June?
Yep. London and Paris are confirmed. So this visual isn't just being seen in the U.S., it's global.
Which underscores the stakes, I suppose. The reach is enormous.
Absolutely. Millions of eyeballs on this imagery.
So this whole situation really lands us at a fascinating crossroads, doesn't it? Artistic expression versus...
Intellectual property?
Yeah.
And venue branding, venue rights?
Yeah. It feels like a perfect, if maybe uncomfortable, case study. An artist uses an iconic landmark in their show.
But the owner of that landmark says, hold on, you didn't ask, and we don't like the implication.
Could Beyoncé's team argue it's, like, fair use? Or artistic commentary? The video sounds a bit playful, almost surreal.
They could try that argument. Artistic expression gets a lot of latitude, but trademark and visual identity are also serious business, especially for a unique, globally recognized structure like the sphere.
It's a fine line.
It really is. SEG would likely argue the use is too prominent, too specific, and creates a misleading association, potentially harming their brand or future business deals.
You have to wonder, too, from SEG's perspective, maybe they see it as a missed opportunity for a paid partnership.
That's certainly possible. Maybe they feel if their image is going to be used that way, there should be a formal agreement, maybe some compensation involved.
It's just complex. There are several ways you could interpret the motivations here.
Definitely. And it really highlights how tricky this stuff gets in the digital age, with visuals traveling so fast and venues becoming brands in themselves.
Okay, so let's try and sum this up for everyone listening.
All right.
Beyoncé kicks off the Cowboy Carter tour. It includes this really striking video interlude,
Where she visually interacts with, basically picks up the Las Vegas sphere.
which leads Sphere Entertainment, via CEO James Dolan, to send a cease and desist letter.
Citing unauthorized use of their IP, concerned about speculation it might be hinting at a residency.
Especially given that previous residency talks reportedly stalled, maybe over rehearsal time, and there's chatter about talks with MGM.
And they gave a deadline of May 5th to stop using the video, threatening further action if not.
Right, so it puts this whole thing squarely at the intersection of art, branding, and legal rights.
Absolutely. And it leaves you, the listener, with something interesting to chew on, I think.
Yeah. What's the final thought here?
Well, what does this specific incident tell us about the power balance between massive artists and these equally massive, iconic venues?
Like, who controls the narrative? Who controls the image?
Exactly. In an age where a venue is a brand, how far does its control over its own likeness extend, especially when it bumps up against artistic expression on a global stage?
Could this set some kind of precedent for how venues try to protect their visual identity going forward?
It's definitely something to watch. How these kinds of disputes get resolved, or even if they escalate, could shape things for future tours and venue relationships. It makes you consider all the different angles involved.